Iran's Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif has warned the U.S. against imposing new sanctions against Tehran. In an interview with Time magazine, Zarif said the Geneva nuclear deal is going to be, quote, dead if the U.S. Congress imposes new sanctions, even if they do not take effect for 6 months. Some hawkish members of the U.S. Congress have been pushing for new sanctions against Iran over the country's nuclear energy program. This despite the Geneva deal between Tehran and the P5+1 group of countries, which includes the U.S. Washington has already imposed several rounds of illegal sanctions against Iran, causing problems mainly for ordinary Iranians. Well, joining us now via Skype from Chicago is author and radio host Stephen Lendman. Many thanks for joining us here on Press TV, Mr. Lendman. Now, how justified would the U.S. Congress be in imposing a fresh round of sanctions on Iran in light of this recently signed Geneva deal?
Well, my opinion, Fatima, good to be on with you, is that the U.S. Congress and U.S. administration, in all the rounds of sanctions they imposed, they knew they were doing it illegally, but they did it anyway. Last July, the House of Representatives passed a new round of sanctions. They have not become law as yet. The Senate is considering a companion bill. From what I understand, of the little information that was leaked out, I wrote an article about it. It looks like they may be tougher than anything that's passed up to now. In other words, as bad as things are now, they want to make things even worse. The pressure from the Israeli lobby, mainly AIPAC, is intense. AIPAC practically owns the Congress. If AIPAC wants something, it's very hard to go up against them. So even though there were good results out of Geneva, at least on the surface there were good results, certainly a breakthrough in the sense that we never got that before, so it's something to build on. I wouldn't put it past the Congress to pass sanctions anyway. What Obama will do, he says, or he hints, or he suggests he won't accept them, meaning he would veto them. But I've heard him say that before, and then he ended up supporting things. So I simply don't trust him. I'm very concerned going forward.
Indeed, and even though in this deal Iran has ensured that its nuclear rights with regards to international law are preserved, however, it has bent over backwards to make this deal a win-win for both sides of the negotiating table. So why does the U.S. Congress want to jeopardize it?
Because the issue, Fatima, is not Iran's nuclear program. I've said that many times, including on Press TV, and I've written it many times. The issue is Iranian sovereign independence, and Iran's nuclear program is a pretext. Just like in Iraq, it was non-existent WMDs. America knew there were none. They knew they were all destroyed, but they used it as a pretext to target Iraq and to wage war. I hope that's not the plan against Iran. You never can tell with America. We both know what America has done for so many years. So anything is possible going forward. I will say this. A few days in Geneva and current talks in Vienna today and what will happen going forward really isn't enough to erase 34 years of U.S. hostility. It's also not enough to erase America's long-standing plan to get rid of all independent countries, to replace them with pro-Western puppet ones. And that's the real issue. The thing to change in America is to change that agenda. If that can be changed, everything else is possible. But to my knowledge, that agenda remains the same, and that's the main worrisome issue.
Indeed, you're absolutely right, Mr. Lendman, that this deal cannot erase 34 years of hostilities coming from the West toward Iran. Yet, many had hoped that this would be a first step in building that confidence that is so lacking between the two sides. But now that we're seeing this threat of sanctions being brought by the U.S. again, this is not very conducive for finding a long-term solution to this now, is it?
It's like two people shake hands and say, yes, we have a deal, and then behind their back, people associated with them plot against one side, against the other. In other words, plots the power group, plots against the less powerful group. I mean, it really is despicable what's going on. And it's happening in plain sight. It's terrible. This is the policy of America, Fatima. It's not just against Iran. It's against so many other countries for so many years. especially in the post-World War II era, where one war after another was fought. It began with Korea, Southeast Asia, Central America. There were African wars. There were Middle East wars. There were Asian wars. I suspect Asian ones may be planned ahead, and more Middle East wars. And it doesn't matter whether Obama is president or Mickey Mouse. It's the U.S. agenda. It was Bill Clinton's agenda. It was George Bush's agenda. It's Obama's agenda. It'll be the agenda of whoever replaces him. And the key in my mind is public sentiment. If we can get the U.S. public to understand what's going on, and that's my mission in my media work and in my writing, to inform people what our country is doing to other people and how it's harming American people because it's taking money out of American profits, and instead of using it to build social benefits in America, it's used to wage imperial wars and destroy people and to kill people and to occupy countries. And enough Americans understand this the way they did against the Vietnam War, and anything is possible, because Congress literally was intimidated to finally end the Vietnam War because street protests would not end. That's what we need against Middle East wars and wars everywhere. The power of popular opinion is the most powerful opinion I know, and that's what I work for every day.
All right, author and radio host Stephen Lenman, they're joining us from Chicago via Skype. It's always a pleasure having you with us here on Press TV, Mr. Lenman.